All right, time for checkpoint problems, which is basically just a summary of all of the objectives from this section of the lesson. I'm not going to write out number 1 because it's just identification, but let me say that we should be able to identify that the square root of 5, since 5 is not a perfect square, is an irrational number. 29/91 is going to be a rational number because it's written as a fraction, and any number that can be written as a fraction of whole numbers is a rational number. And 0.63 repeating, anytime we have a repeating decimal, we're always able to write it as a fraction, so that's going to be a rational number as well. Now we'll start off with number 2. As far as the actual work is concerned, we're asked to first convert with number 2 the fractions or mixed numbers to decimals. So as in the past, with fractions, we write them out as division problems. So we have 5 divided by 6. Let's go ahead and add some zeros here because we know we're going to use at least one of them. We'll bring the decimal up, write 0 out here. How many times will 6 go into 50? That would be 8, because 6 times 8 is 48. And we subtract, bring down your 2, bring down your 0. 6 will go into 20 3 times. 6 times 3 is 18. Subtract. You have 2, bring down your 0, and now we see a pattern. Every time we multiply 6 times 3, we're going to get 18, which is going to leave a remainder of 2, and we're going to bring down another 0, which is going to be another result of 6 going into 20 3 times. So 5/6 as a decimal is going to be 0.83 with just the 3 repeating. 9/11, we follow the same process. First write out the division problem. 9, go ahead and write some zeros. Divided by 11. How many times will 11 go into 90? That would be 8, because we know that's going to be 88. Subtract, we get 2, bring down your 0. How many times will 11 go into 20? That's just one time, because 11 times 2 is too much, so 11, 20 minus 11 is going to be 9. Bring down your 0. And now we're going to notice a pattern, because then we're going to have 8 again. That's going to give us 88, which is going to be 2. Bring down another 0. And we're going to get another 1. So it's going to repeat 81 after the decimal. So 9/11 as a decimal is going to be 0.81 repeating. All right, -1 and 43/50. We could write this out as a division problem, 43 divided by 50. But what we should notice, we know we're going to have -1 out at the front, point something. And what we should notice is that 43/50 equals 86/100. So 86/100 is just 0.86. So -1 and 43/50 is going to be -1.86. That's all of problem 2. Now in problem 3, we're asked to convert the given decimals to fractions or mixed numbers, and we're working basically backwards from what we were with number 2. When we don't have a repeating decimal, again, it's fairly simple. We just look at where's the decimal place. In this case, 0.55 is 2 decimal places, which is hundredths. So we have 55/100. Should recognize that both of those are divisible by 5. 55 divided by 5 is 11. 100 divided by 5 is 20. And that's the most simplified it can be, because 11 and 20 share no common factors. With 0.560, we have 3 decimal places. But we should also recognize that when we have that third decimal place, that's just going to cancel anyways. So that's the same thing as 56/100. Now we're looking at what are those both divisible by. We recognize right off the bat that 56 is divisible by 2 and 100 is divisible by 2. So let's go ahead and do that. 100 divided by 2 is 50. And 56 divided by 2 is 28. So this is an instance of I didn't divide by the greatest common factor. I divided by 2 instead, and I should have recognized that it's divisible by 4. Both 56 and 100 are divisible by 4. But it still works because we can divide 28 divided by 2. We just look for another common factor in the result. 28 divided by 2 is 14. 50 divided by 2 is 25. So 0.560 as a fraction is 14/25. Now 0.42 repeating. We have our repeating decimal. It's 2 decimal places. So we start by writing out n equals and then the repeating portion. 0.4242 repeating. We have 2 decimals repeating, so we want to multiply by 100. Subtract n from both sides. Remember, n is the repeating portion, so on the right side, we just write out 0.4242. We end up with 99n equals 42. Divide both sides by 99. We get n equals 42/99. Now, right off the bat, it may not be obvious if they're both divisible by some specific number or what the greatest common factor is, but I can tell you 42 and 99 we know are both divisible by 3. And the reason for that is if you add up the digits in a number and it's a multiple of 3, the number is divisible by 3. So 4 plus 2 is 6, and 9 plus 9 is 18. Both of those are multiples of 3. So 42 divided by 3, what's that going to be? That's going to be 14. And you can double check that. 10 times 3 is 30. 4 times 3 is 12. 30 plus 12 is indeed 42. 99 divided by 3 is 33. So 0.42 repeating as a fraction is going to be 14/33. And that's all of our checkpoint problems for this section.